What is up, everyone? Welcome to Locked on Cavs live on YouTube. This is your Monday and Tuesday episode. If you're listening after the fact, you're listening on Monday by now, and then Tuesday will be up in your feeds as well. I'm Chris Manning. He's Evan Dammarell. We're going to take your questions later in the show. We're going to talk about the wine and gold scrimmage, which Evan watched because he didn't have something going on, and I did have something going on. So I have not watched it, but I have a take about the value of those things in general. But we'll dive into that. And also, want to thank everyone for making Locked On Cavs your first listen every day. As a reminder, we are free and available on all of your favorite podcast platforms and YouTube.
You are Locked On Cavs, your daily Cleveland Cavaliers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, Evan. How
It's
are you?
popping. I'm good, man.
I got options.
It was an eventful Monday. You pulled a Bruce Wayne and swam in the koi pond of the downtown Hilton and bought the building, saying, "I own the place." And
I didn't actually do that, but yeah.
That's our new headquarters. We're not recording there yet. We're doing some renovations. And then oddly enough, because apparently Carter Rodriguez said he's going to quote unquote throw down the gauntlet against us this year, and me specifically. He wants to start up this old beef that Justin started with me. I got DDoSed all afternoon at work, so it was a pretty uneventful day for me, other than shouts to the guys at Conrad's for fixing my tires on my new car. I guess there's a lot going on. I'm all over the place. Got a lot of chaotic energy. I got a center. While you tell me how you're doing.
I mean, I'm good. As always, I'm never the one picking fights with our friends over there. Those are our friends. I'm not
Carter who started it. Also, I'm wearing Bobcat green for Chris because it's a tough. Shouts to our friends, a friend of the pod, Trevor Magnotti, who wanted to start crap with me about it, but it's a tough pull for my Zips to play Ohio State University and the Ohio University on back-to-back like that. It's just not a good look overall, and I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed, I guess, that I spent my Saturday evening watching Akron lose to OU. There's more productive ways I could use my time and energy, but alas, speaking of productive time, the wine and gold scrimmage, Chris, you missed a good time.
I had a better time at my friend's wedding, so.
Well, congratulations
I'm just gonna get
you and your friend.
Yes, it's my guy Patrick. But I'm just gonna get this take off because I understand people get excited about scrimmages and basketball. I think that's fun. These games mean these games mean nothing. Preseason basketball doesn't mean that much to me in general. Like it's not quite as meaningless as like NFL preseason, but it's pretty close. And I think this wine and gold scrimmage is just like, it's a fun event. The people wearing practice jerseys, the team can have the practice on, has that little sponsor on it now, so that sponsor gets some free ad time. Like,
it's not just any sponsor, man. It is the number one blockchain provider in the world sponsoring the Cavs practice jerseys this year. I did a quick Google search.
Congratulations to whoever sold that. Good for them. Good for them. But I just like, I don't think these things tell you very much. Like, they are. Purposefully just like a
brought the ball up and dribbled up the shot clock trying to take down Fiondu Kabengele, and then it turned into a glorified dunk contest for the last 5 minutes. It's fun for the fans. It's fun for
my father tuning in, trolling you, Evan. Go Cats. That's my guy. Ivor Manning, the senior. Let's go. The man. But here's the thing. So I understand that people get excited about these. So we have Patrick noting, I went to the scrimmage Saturday, and then right here, I cannot wait for tomorrow's game. We look great. Sick of guys who can get something done on offense, smart players on defense. Lowry is going to show a lot. Like, I understand if you're a fan, you can get very optimistic about these. But I'm just saying, pump those brakes, slow it down a little bit, and let's just like wait until we get into the regular season a little bit. Like, if you're gonna ride these highs, you're also setting yourself up, I think, if you're a fan, to like ride these lows when like they have that brutal start to the season with the long West Coast trip. Like, they might get punched in the teeth like day one and just have to navigate some choppy waters, and like let's just keep it chill. Let's keep it Let's keep the vibe right and not get too ahead of ourselves, even if you're excited.
Chris vibe check Manning on deck, folks. But I agree with you for the most part. I think it's really hard, especially when you're watching the Cavs play each other, because no defense is really played during the wine and gold scrimmage. I mean, other than Isaac Okoro, who made an effort to shut off Colin Sexton's water a few times. But
I love him for that. I love him for just being like, this is a meaningless game, but I'm going to play defense.
Make it
like,
something personal.
That's the only thing that of the takeaways I saw on Sunday morning when I was flipping through stuff. Like, I think that is incredibly fun that Isaac just does that stuff, but the rest of it's like, whatever it is.
No, I absolutely agree. But I guess the only thing that really I'm paying attention to are these fringe rotation guys and guys who are competing for that second two-way deal. So you have Taco Fall, who's probably going to get some. I mean, JB Bickerstaff said today during a media availability that all 20 players are expected to play during the preseason on the current training camp roster. And I mean, they'll monitor the minutes of these key rotation guys. But I mean, JB has to figure out, because he also said he's going with a 10-man rotation. He has to figure out players 8, 9, and 10 in that rotation. And he also has to kind of figure out who, or not more so JB, but the organization has to figure out who's getting that second two-way spot. Is it going to be Kabengele? Is it going to be Taco Fall? Are they going to invest in Kyle Guy? Are they going to look at a lot of these players who just figure out what do they really have here? And then you just figure out the fringe rotation. So I think that's what I'm going to be focusing it on during this preseason, because clearly we know Colin Sexton, Darius Garland, Isaac Okoro, Evan Mobley, Jared Allen, Lauri Markkanen, and Ricky Rubio, because they've been hyping the crap out of Ricky Rubio. So I think it's safe to assume Ricky Rubio is a key member of this rotation. Those 7 guys are going to be factors this year. And I'm not too I'll watch them and see okay, maybe there's some things they've worked on, things they've improved on. How does Rubio mesh with them? But I'm more so focused and tuned into Mr. Confidence, Denzel Valentine. Is Taco Fall as really a big a freak in nature as I think he is I mean, I'm interested to see what Evan Mobley is going to be too. And Lamar Stevens is an interesting thing. Jetty Osman's an interesting thing. The backup 3 is an interesting battle. There's some certain things I can pull away from this, but I agree the scrimmage is a bad place to really pull and bake a lot of your takes off of it, because these are guys who have been playing against each other for about a week now.
It's just for people to come and get to see the team up close
and sign up for season tickets.
Yeah, it's a. But so Simple Pure USA put this in the chat. I think this is the perfect time to get irrationally optimistic, fully understanding the bad turn things. I get that, but here's how my brain works. It doesn't work like that. My brain is very much I can't do.
I thought you were just gonna say my brain doesn't work, and I'm like, damn.
Evan, there are times you make my brain not work. If we're gonna keep it 100.
One scundo. That's fair.
Yeah.
But I'm bringing the positive energies. Go Cats. That's what I'm gonna say. Rawr. I mean, could mean Bearcats, because they upset Brittany Malls is fighting Irish, or every Irish Catholic family is fighting Irish, or your Bob Kitties. It's to be interpreted by the listener / viewer.
But my brain is just very much it just doesn't work that way. I don't get. I understand. I'm detached in a certain way, obviously covering the team, but even with the teams that I would say I openly sort of root for, Tottenham, the Crew. I mean, it's mostly soccer, I think, at this point. Frankly, my brain not work. I that one's a little more common, because sometimes when I start writing about anything in that regard, my brain just sort of moves in a different direction. And to be fair, are you
going to break your dad's heart in the chat right now? Nah. He's probably exhilarated that Tom Brady got his revenge on the Patriots last night. That was a fun game.
Dad, yes, I texted him last night, and he just sent me a thumbs up back, which is just an incredible dad move, to just send me a text back with only a thumbs up emoji. But my brain just does not exactly go to those places specifically. I don't get I think we will do we'll do post game stuff this year, right? We'll do maybe some live shows. We're still kind of figuring the machinations of that out. The mechanics is maybe a better word than machinations, because it has less of an evil tone. But I don't. We'll be I can take things. I just try to take things when I'm talking about it, and sort of more macro stuff, especially when you're this. If an injury happens, that's one thing. But I think with sort of game to game stuff, when it's a long season, I also just like I just feel my overall take on this Cavs team is basically just like I want to see them do stuff before I'm like anointing them. I don't think they've earned the right for us to be like, you're ready for this. Like, I think there's reason to be optimistic. There are a lot more people, like Tom Ziller, Ben Pfeiffer, like some really smart people that are seemingly very optimistic about this Cavs team in a way that I maybe am not. I'm curious to see how like that evolves, but I frankly just want to see them like prove some of it and see how that goes and how it happens. I think ultimately, I'd read it. Let's take a break. We'll come back here and do some. But you got to tell everyone about our friends at Sleeper.
I do. We should not be sleeping on Sleeper, folks, because in 2018, the fantasy sports experts at Sleeper realized that fantasy basketball was broken. Games are being won and lost based on whose players had more scheduled games that week. It made no sense and required very little strategery. So, in 2020, Sleeper released a brand new way of playing fantasy basketball. It's called Game Pick, and it's only available on Sleeper. In Game Pick, owners pick a single game per week with each starter to count towards their team's total score, ensuring an even number of games played between opponents. The days of losing your opponent's players the days of losing because your opponent's players simply had more scheduled games to play in that week are over. The days of mindless daily busy work are over. The days of giving up halfway through the season because of that busy work, also over. In game picks, you pick one game per week for each player based on the following: player matchups, home versus away, opponent's defensive ranking, pace of play, and more. All of that adds up to more strategy and less busy work. Whether you prefer redraft, keeper, or dynasty, Game Pick has you covered. Sleeper cracked the fantasy basketball code, and if you play fantasy football or if you prefer building out a weekly strategy versus daily busy work, you're going to love Game Picks. Download the Sleeper app and start a league with your friends today. You will not be disappointed. Sleeper's one-of-a-kind Game Pick is the most strategic fantasy basketball experience in the industry, and Chris actually coerced me into a fantasy basketball league today. If they don't use Game Pick, they're not getting my money. I flat out refuse. I can buy a Cybertruck with the money we're playing with, folks. And Sleeper, Game Pick, let's make it happen, Chris.
Also got to tell our friends about DirecTV Stream. Does this sound familiar? You've got one device that lets you catch the game live, another that lets you stream your favorite shows. You're watching sport highlights on your phone, and you've got your neighbor's best friends log in for the good stuff. Well, we got to tell you about a simple way to get all that entertainment you love without the hassle, and a great way to finally get your TV together. It's called DirecTV Stream, and it brings your live TV and on-demand favorites together like never before, so you can watch your favorite sports, movies, and shows all in one place. That means no more juggling remotes and no need to buy another device ever again. And the best part, there is no annual contract. So get rid of the clutter and the confusion and get your TV together with DirecTV Stream. You can learn more at directv.com. That is directv.com. Compatible device required, and your content varies by package. Where do you want to go next? Do you want to talk about preseason tomorrow? Do you want to talk about...
Let's talk about it, man. I'm interested. I haven't really paid attention to what Billy Donovan has and hasn't said when it comes to what the Bulls exactly, who is and isn't going to play. Like, I haven't paid attention at all, but I'm curious to see how this Bulls team looks against the Cavs because they burned me bad last year, man. Like, I, pun intended here, was bullish on Chicago. And they made me look out like a damn fool here. And I'm intrigued to see how Chicago looks. I know, again, not a lot of stock you can pull from preseason. A lot of teams aren't going to fully show their hands before the regular season begins. But I don't know. This is like a make or break season for the Bulls, and I'm intrigued to see what we get from them.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things that one of the only things that I've seen is that, Casey Johnson, who's covered the team for a long time, frankly, I think one of the best beat reporters around. He used to cover the team for the Chicago the Tribune, one of the Chicago papers, now works for NBC Sports in Chicago. He wrote a story about Lonzo Ball and the Bulls wanting to play faster. And like, I think that team is like a fast break team could be really interesting. I mean, you're thinking about like Lonzo and DeMar. I mean, people that may have not watched the Spurs a lot are just, he's become like a really good creator. Like that guy has become like a really, really skilled creator. I like they have Vooch, so we'll see if they have Zach LaVine, who's their best player, and they got Cruz. Like I think it's just an interesting team, and I'm curious to see how the Cavs approach it. I mean, like I think we're kind of expecting. I mean, are we expecting the real young starting five: Garland, Sexton, Okoro, Mobley, Allen? I guess that's kind of one of the things here. Is like, are we getting that off bat? Are we like? I don't think the Cavs are not. I don't think the Cavs are going out of their way to like throw. One of the things I think that is probably being the biggest thing so far, dating back to media day, is just like they are being very slow with him, but they are not going to throw him out there heavily. But I don't know if that's going to keep him from. I just think, I don't know if we know what that looks like yet. But like you could definitely make an argument to me that like. I mean, frankly, I just think it'll be interesting to just see how they match up against a Bulls team that is built just differently than them. They're a little bigger, obviously. Like, I mean, this will probably be a starting five of what Lonzo, Levine, DeRozan, Pat Williams, Vooch. That's much bigger than what Cleveland's going to route with Garland, Sexton, Okoro. Like, it's just stylistically, like these teams are sort of different in a lot of ways. I kind of want to see it.
Yeah, I'm intrigued by that. I'm intrigued. So there's a lot to unpack with what you said. So let's take this one step at a time. We can always carry this into the next segment too. But the Mobley thing first and foremost, and like the starting five in general, I don't think Evan Mobley's going to start because I think the Cavs are going to bring him along slowly and maybe just always pair him with a theoretical spacer on the floor. So either he's playing with Markkanen or either he's playing with Kevin Love, because they played him at times with Taco Fall on the Saturday. JB played him at times on Saturday. I know they tried Cobb and Gailey in Summer League with him, but I wonder if maybe Mobley's shot isn't as NBA ready as people think it is, or they hope it is. And
that would bum me out because I want to see him and Allen. I think one of the, like, if you're going to do this, the Allen Mobley stuff is the Tower City lineup is potentially just like defensively just an incredibly interesting combination of bigs who can do different stuff. Like, it's not going to be perfect right away. They're both, I mean, Allen's been in the league for like a while now. I mean, he's a young vet in his own words, but and Mobley's, just getting started here. But like, I mean, honestly, frankly, how Mobley is deployed and like who he plays with and stuff is probably top 3 thing I want to see the first 10 games of the season. And it's a preseason thing I want to see because it'll set our framing more than anything he says, more than anything, more than anything that happens in the wine and gold scrimmage. Like, I tend to think that we are going to see, I think that is a top 3 interesting thing for me. It's just seeing where and how Mobley plays.
I think that's a fair assessment. I'm intrigued to see where exactly like the Cavs deploy him, but I just think in theory Markkanen makes more sense next to either Jarrett or Evan right now. But yeah, at the same time, this is your quote unquote front court of the future, with Lauri Markkanen being one of the primary options off the bench for you. Maybe you fully go into it, but there's a lot of just voices in the back of my head. I'm on my medication and therapy, so the negative intrusive thoughts are somewhat subsided, but it's tough to think about too, because I think JB Bickerstaff's gonna have to be coaching with a priority to win and put out the best possible lineups at any given time. And yeah, he's gonna do some tinkering and experimenting because JB is pretty crafty when it comes to this stuff, but I still don't fully believe Kobe Altman and JB Bickerstaff have full on job security. Like, if this blows up in the Cavs' face and this turns into another lost season, like, those two could lose their jobs. And then the big what ifs are, it's unfortunate scheduling. Like, what if they try and make more win now moves now, and they kind of develop probably at the same time with these two timelines running parallel with one another? It's just tough for me to think about. And it's something that's been stuck in my craw because, again, people I think are going to be really hyped on Lauri Markkanen. Yeah, thank you. I think people are going to be really hyped on Lauri Markkanen, rightfully so. I think he's going to be exciting. I think he's going to be a fun option for the Cavs and give JB a little bit more interesting wrinkles at times too. But, I mean, he was guns blazing in that scrimmage because there's your defense being played. And I think a lot of fans are going to have way too high of expectations for him when the season starts. But I don't know, man. I think Evan Mobley comes off the bench at first, but if he's further ahead than maybe I expect him to be, because yes, I am saying pump the brakes on the Summer League stuff because he's not playing with a true point guard and not really playing with maximum level talent for the Cavs. I do wonder, I think I need to see him during the preseason to fully see, like, okay, yes, he's further along than he was when he wrapped up his season at Southern California. Just put him out there now and just see what you have, because I think I think Kobe did make a somewhat smart point to say, like, listen, we don't have to put the entire weight of the organization on Evan Mobley's shoulders. We have assembled a nice stable of young pieces. It doesn't translate to winning necessarily yet, but maybe that, like, I think it's just very clear they're going to bring him along slowly, and I just wonder if he will come off the bench at first. And that's also JB's thing too, is making his players earn their minutes. And if Mobley balls out during the preseason, I'm fully going to slam my foot on the gas and say start him. Just F it. Let's look at the front court of the future now, and the future is now. So let's figure it out.
Yeah, let's take a break. I have one other take I want to say about that, just as kind of a continuing the season preview stuff. But got to tell everyone about our friends at Built Bar. Wouldn't be locked on Cavs if we didn't have a Built Bar right here. And look, Built Bar has so many delicious flavors: coconut, cherry barcia, raspberry, mint brownie, and cookies and cream. Evan's favorite are just some of the favorite the Built Bars out there. And if you haven't tried all the flavors, you get a mix box.
The cookie dough chunk slaps, dude. I stress ate 2 of those today, and it was a delicious sweet treat with like no carbs or stress about gaining weight from it whatsoever.
If you haven't tried all the flavors, you can get a mixed box where you get 2 of each of the 9 flavors. So they have 17 grams of protein, calories ranging from 130 to 180, and only 4 to 5 grams of sugar and only 4 to 5 grams of net carbs. Order today. Get that raspberry, that mint brownie, or whatever it is you like. And remember, Built Bar is the official protein bar of the United States track and field team. So go to Built.com, promo code LOCKED15. You'll get 15% off your order. Again, promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at Built.com. Okay, so I guess my other point here is I think the other thing I strongly think is I do think...
Tell me how you feel, Chris.
Yeah. I tend to think that the Cavs have to do a little bit of column A, column B in terms of winning now and future stuff. And I that is a line JB's going to have to manage carefully. And I want to see how he does it.
It's going to be a tightrope walk for him.
Well, that's what I mean, because it's like you have like it's not that marketing is like a short-term solution, but in theory, this is I would say it's pretty clear to me that like if I was going to bet on like who the best of those 3 guys who are the best 2 individual players in 3 years, it's Allen and Mobley, and I would feel pretty confident in that. Marketing is kind of
it's a pretty safe bet.
I mean, Markkanen's like is kind of, if he maxes out what he is, he's just kind of a specialist, and that's fine. You need those kind of guys. The Cavs desperately need shooting. There's just a lot to manage, and I'm just kind of curious how this goes on. I also just I want to just see, you know, if there is. I also just think like the look of the offense will be interesting, just because that's one of the things they keep stressing, especially like going back to media day. The offense, we're going to play faster. We're going to try the structure of what they're talking about has sort of been more at the rim, putting pressure on defenses that way, and then generating quality 3-point looks. And maybe I tend to also think we're just going to see like, I think Garland, just my vibe on that is he's going to just take 1 or 2 just like off. Like I think him in particular is going to add this little bit of off the dribble juice that I think we're going to see a little bit of. I just want to see if the offense does look like updated, let's say, from day 1 of preseason.
They keep saying they're going to modernize the offense, and they, as in JB Bickerstaff, and then they keep asking the players what it means. And Colin Sexton verbatim said, I don't really know what that means. I think it just means playing with more space and a little bit more pace without being reckless with the ball. I want to see, that sounds encouraging, but I need to see it before I believe it. But I also need to see the Cavs not be so one-dimensional and only be a one-read offense where if something breaks down, the Cavs have a counter action or another set that they can rotate into. That's like my second or third biggest storyline. I think for me, it's in terms of the one I hope to pull from this preseason is who's going to be the primary backup 3 behind Okoro. Like that's going to be really intriguing. Is it going to be Lamar? Is it going to be Jetty? Is it going to be any of those guys? We've talked about that enough.
Yeah, I mean that's also like that's rotation guy at number 8, correct?
Correct. That'd be 8 I'd say. I mean Dylan Windler could be in the conversation too if he's fully healthy. We have a question about him in the chat.
It's 8/9 depending on if Love's playing or not. We'll get to
sure.
Let's open segment 2 with that Windler stuff because I think he's just like we talk about him a lot, but it's probably doing more.
Yeah, it is. And then, like, for me, it's what's going on with Evan Mobley, and then is the offense, quote-unquote, modernized? Because JB says encouraging things, and then he follows it up by saying, well, the offensive battles are also won in the paint first, so they're going to have an inside-out attack, and hopefully I can see, sure, a little bit of that, but maybe there is some more three-point shooting, because he also said Colin and Darius need to take more threes this year, and That is 100% true. They both need to take more 3-pointers this year to actually be beneficial, especially in Colin Sexton's case. Like, it makes his life so much easier if he takes more 3-pointers. But this Bulls game is going to be fun. There's not going to be a lot I can take from it. I think JB is going to try and play all 20 players. I think we will hardly see Kevin Love play against Chicago tomorrow night. We will hardly see Jared Allen play because, and maybe a Okoro, Sexton, Garland too. Like, there isn't, and maybe even Mobley as well. Like, a lot of those key guys that he has penciled into the rotation, there isn't much point to see them play. Maybe Ricky Rubio gets a lot of burn because you want him to get a lot of on-court chemistry with a lot of these players. But other than that, like, I just don't see a point.
Yeah. Well,
I don't see a point. Why risk injury?
Yeah. I mean, I think you'll see guys like the Cavs are in a position where, like, I think if you're like Philly, it's like you don't need Embiid to play in these games and whatever. Like, I mean, I saw Drummond had like 17 and like 12 in like 20 minutes or something crazy like that.
How many? Let's check his field goal percentage though.
It was like he's. It's just that's so funny to me.
Listen, friend of the pod, Jordan Christmas knows the truth. When we talked about Andre Drummond on his show, he's just like, listen, he is a box score legend, but if you actually watch him play, it makes you want to rip your hair out. Oh, yeah, yes. My dude Dre is 5 of 8 from the floor. I guarantee you the majority of his rebounds are off those 3 misses.
I want to see how Pangos looks. That's like a random thing I'm excited about.
Yeah, he's neat too. I think
I just because I've like never seen him. Like, I've watched the highlights, but it's just like that. Like, there's a like you can watch the highlights and sort of understand what they do, but it also like doesn't give you an idea of how they like fit into like the flow of a game. And like, that is just the thing. Like, when you're watching in person, I like on TV, like you sometimes notice these things are different. Like, I don't know. I'm not gonna do that. Just like seeing Summer League was just like a reminder of like how much fun it can be and like how different you can interpret some things like when you get to see it in person. Like, there is like another added benefit to it.
Do you think the Cavs wish they had Kevin Pangos for Summer League and they made that signing sooner? I do.
Nah, I mean, I don't.
A true point guard on the roster is better than watching Broderick Thomas and Isaac Okoro run offensive sets every single possession.
But I mean, like, what is? I don't know if that would have like. I don't know if that's like something that is like a meaningful difference for you. It's like I don't know if like getting like I just don't know how much that really mattered. Like, Summer League is just like hey, we're here to hang out. Everyone gets to be in Las Vegas. We get to guys to get some exercise and some coaching in, and like.
Chris talks with Darius Garland and makes it known at media day that he had this exact conversation with Darius during his availability.
Look, I didn't even bring it up this time, but you did. I actually only told that to you, by the way. I didn't even go out to other people. I just told that to you because I was like, I've heard this already. I mean, I got to like see Brad roll and eat Dippin' Dots like every day. It's a good time.
Dippin' Dots and Bill D. Phillip. Bill's my man. Man, real quick. First off, he's a Buka legend, but the Urban Meyer stuff, like, I'm not going to touch on that much, but he is so funny with everything he's like. I've gotten a hearty chuckle at every Urban Meyer tweet Bill's had so far.
Well, the only good Twitter account is at Bill D. Filippo. That's the only Twitter account that I can like honestly like recommend you follow.
Everyone, if you're listening right now, later, or watching right now, go follow Bill D. Filippo and then ask him for a Buka. He'll definitely hook you up.
Don't do that. Him just tweeting about Mac Jones and calling Mac Jones McCorkle is just like very good stuff to me.
It's on brand.
Yeah, Bill's the man. Anyway, I still wish I had like one more week to kind of like process stuff. And
I do
kind of get ready because
it's been a blur.
It's been a blur.
Like, it's hard to believe we're already in October, but it's also 70 degrees outside, so it's misleading.
Just give me fall. I thought we had hit it last week, and then like I'm sick of it.
For those playing bingo at home, Evan mentioned the weather, so go ahead and just check that box. And he cut Chris off, so check off that box too.
Yeah. Who of like the camp invitee guys do you most want to see tomorrow night? I actually kind of think my answer is Kyle Guy.
Mine's Kyle Guy or Denzel Valentine.
Well, but he's not a camp invite guy. I think Valentine's like on the roster.
He could get cut. Taco Fall too. Taco intrigues. Like, he's just not a natural human being.
But but the first year of Valentine's deal is guaranteed, I think, correct?
Yes, it is. But
that makes it like a little like.
But he
That
could
just
not
makes
play
it
at
a-
all for the Cavs. Like he talked a lot for a dude who may not play a singles minute for the Cavaliers unless it's garbage
Yeah,
time.
but like, I mean, he went to Michigan State. It's whatever. Like I think of the guys that are like, I think like I would define as like invitees. I think it's a
Guy,
because I think like Valentine.
Alex
I
is
still
interesting
maintain
too.
I just think like Valentine, Jetty, and Windler and Stevens are all just sort of like, we're gonna rotate through these guys and find someone that works to back up Isaac.
Well, speaking of Windler, Chris, I feel the winds of another segment break blowing
The winds
through.
of winter.
So the winds of
George released the book. Anyway, we're gonna take a quick pause.
Well, thanks for reminding me that George R.R. Martin's never going to release and finish Game of Thrones. So
you're welcome.
Just
all right, we're gonna take a quick break. We'll be right back. All right, we're back. Part 2 of this Locked On Cavs live. Brand new whip, just copped it. I got options.
People are gonna have like a double take now because we've opened up the same way in both episodes. Well, and then we're splitting this up 2 days apart.
I just continued the Jack Harlow. Shout out Jack Harlow. Thanks for making Locked On Cavs, by the way, for listening on your audio feed on Tuesday morning. Thanks for making Locked On Cavs your first listen every day. Again, we are free and available on all platforms, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. We're going to take your questions now, so drop your questions in the chat if you're watching live, and we'll get to those.
Actually, this is pretty creative. Daniel Norb in the chat is calling Dylan Windler dwindler because it's year 3 and his roster security is dwindling. Like that's pretty creative. I applaud that. Like, bravo.
All right, let's play the intro. We'll be right back.
You are Locked On Cavs, your daily Cleveland Cavaliers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, we're back.
Chris, give yourself a concussion with that head banging, my guy.
Yeah. Yeah, man, let's take some questions. Let's scroll. I'm going to scroll to the top, and we'll find a good one here.
Let's start with this one. Ivar Manning says, "Go Cats!" Just rubbing the salt in the wound one last time.
I wonder if my dad's still watching. Probably give me some like detailed feedback after this. Okay, so,
dude, my dad does that all the time. He's just like, "You need to slow down." He's like, Were you? What did you have for dinner before this? You sounded really congested and gross." My dad's a Stern guy, and he knows Howard Stern has like top quality like audio, and he's just like, "You need to be more like that." I'm like, I also don't have 3 hours to talk about the sex life of Tom Brady on my show.
All right, so. I'm done talking about that. Okay, so wrong one there. Okay, someone asked a question about Lamar Stevens that I'm trying to find.
Found it.
Someone asked about Windler versus Jetty, and I can't find the question. Oh, here we go. There we go. From Nate. At this point, who would you rather have, Jetty or Lamar? So there are 2 distinct ways you could answer this. How would you answer this, Evan? I think there are 2 ways I would answer this, but I want you to go first.
Well, do you want to go with defense, energy, and not very good shooting? Or do you want to go with, well, there's 3 ways this could go. Shooting, but highs and lows? Or do you want to go with shooting, defense, rebounding, but unreliably unhealthy? Those are your 3 options. And I still think in my heart of hearts, like Lamar feels like the dark horse option to be the backup 3 for the Cavs because he fits the MO of what JB Bickerstaff looks for in a player. And granted, like he's not a great 3-point shooter. and I think about it a lot. Like I know we both think about things a lot, like certain weird, odd topics, but I do think about Lamar Stevens and his viability. And I'm looking off into space right now. I'm looking at the camera, and I should look at the camera, but because I'm really like I've been chewing on this a lot lately. Like I really think it's going to be Lamar, and I think the Cavs are just going to put theoretical spacing around him so that he isn't such a liability on offense because there's other threats. Because again, I know there's not a lot of stuff you can take from that wine and gold scrimmage, but there were sets that they had Lamar Stevens bringing the ball up and being a distributor in terms of just getting easy looks and easy reads. And like, yes, that's encouraging, but he hit 1 3-pointer, I think. And other than that, he's just kind of a non-factor. Whenever he took a 3, yeah, he took them. That's encouraging. But I just think the defense he provides, I think the slashing he provides, I think that he's so big and can play 3 and 4 and defend 1 through 4 in JB's words, not mine. I really think Lamar's going to be the option. And it's just because I can't rely on Dylan Windler being healthy. And I'm just kind of out on Jetty Osman because he's just so all over the place offensively.
So I think if you're looking at this from last year, I think Lamar just clearly had a better season. I like the profile of what he gives you. He's bigger, he's stronger, competes on the defensive end of the floor, good cutter, kind of knows his limitations as a player. I think that where he kind of gets what I think separates him is I think like if you compare him to like Okoro, was sort of like built from the same template as like bigger wings who can't really shoot. I think Okoro's just a better, more explosive athlete. Lamar has like that leaping ability, but like he doesn't have that. Like I don't think he's quite as like twitchy front to back as Okoro might be. I also just think like the shot is a concern. I mean, I think it's harder to fully justify him being as interesting as you kind of hope he can be if like he can't get to league averages shooting and just at least make some open threes. Like that's just becomes trickier to do depending on what kind of lineups you're going to play him in and stuff, or if you're going to get really creative and use him in interesting ways. Even if we could see him hit corner threes. Like that would be like a win. If you could do some stuff where he hides out in the corner, he takes some corner threes, he cuts and he cracks the offensive glass. Like you can carve out a role if you do it right. But if Jetty Osman is 2 years ago, that is like a legitimate rotation NBA wing. That guy.
But I think that ship has sailed.
But here's the thing: I don't feel like 1 year that was bizarre. Like I don't think the Cavs are in a position to say that ship has sailed. I don't think we are in a position to say that ship has sailed because last year was weird, condensed season. Clearly, just everything that could have really gone wrong for Jetty kind of did go wrong in a lot of ways. You're not in a position where like. You clearly went out and got. It's not like the Cavs this offseason like went out and got like a Josh Hart level player and like, okay, we have our backup 3 now. We overspent for this, but we filled the need. We can just like do whatever with Jetty. You signed him to a contract already. You have that money. I don't think that money is like easily tradable. I don't think you can just dump that readily. Like you have a guy that like can do some secondary playmaking, can hit threes, can do like at least a little bit of stuff. I think he's more of like almost like a backup 2 than he is a 3, just because he's kind of wiry, even though he's 6'7". And so like maybe you could play both of them in some capacity. But like 2 years ago, Jetty was like an actual rotation NBA player, and that is a level above what Lamar showed last year's rookie. Now Lamar is a rookie. I'm curious to see what kind of developments he made. We need to see what kind of headspace Jetty's going to be in and what he's going to look like when he plays. But like, I don't think we can say like for sure. And I think if like last year was obviously very bad, I don't think we can just say that is what he is now because the track record is like bigger than that. And I don't think, again, I think if you're Kobe Altman, if you're JB Bickerstaff, if you're the coaching staff, if you're the whole front office, I don't think you're not in a position where you can look at Lamar, Dylan Windler, and Denzel Valentine and be like, one of these guys is clearly for sure going to be better than Jetty this year. I don't think you can say that. I think you got to just see how they look and ride whatever hand. Like, I think all of these guys ultimately are going to get a shot at this. It's just going to happen.
So here's my caveat then. I could agree with you. I can agree with what you're selling, but do you think Jetty has the shortest hook on the rotation then? And because JB talks about certain specialists, and I think that's really saying like the Dean Wades of the world, or even Lamar Stevens, if you want to put him in that group instead. Like, do you think you pull the hook on Jetty if he's just kind of all over the place and you put one of those quote unquote specialists in instead to take his minutes?
I don't think we know. I would guess yes, because I think I think he was trying to send him a message last year when he benched him for a while. But I also feel like we don't know. There's just like a lot about this team I don't feel like we know. Like it's a different team than last year, right?
Oh yeah,
like
absolutely.
The roster construction is just they are built different. Like this is just a different looking team with different pieces that is younger, like that has things to figure out. And I think there's just a lot we don't know. I really think we're in like if you compare the Cavs to like any of the teams that are actually good. Like, so the upper echelon teams in either conference, okay?
Damn, dude, you really laid that one on thick. Any of the other teams that are actually good.
Like
Chris Manning says from the Hilton Locked On Cavs Tower as Justin Rowan is just wandering the streets.
Justin Rowan's just he's eagerly getting slayed. But those teams are in like we've collected the data. We kind of know what we are. We have to just like maximize what we are. The Cavs are in data collecting mode. The Cavs are figuring out what they are.
Still.
The Cavs are figuring out like what's our identity? Who is actually worth building with the next 4 years? Who is worth building a year from now? Like you have like the part of the reason like you have these contracts with guys like Wade and Lamar is that like you have outs. I mean, I think I'd have to look and poke around on it. I think I probably should have already, but it's like I think there's a Windler like contract option deadline at some point. I don't know if they've like I think he has one more team option they could pick up or not. Usually they announce that stuff in a press release. So there's just like a lot in flux here. And I mean, like even if you go to
I'm thinking about it now. I think you are right. I think they have an option for him. I think Darius does too soon, and the Cavs will announce whether or not they pick. I mean, obviously, I think Darius is an easy one they're going to pick up.
Oh yeah, if they decline Darius's, that would be like one of those things where you just kind of like honestly, like I would like even though like
I would actually think I'd go bald. Like just all my hair, like in a cartoon, just falls out of my head at once.
Yeah. But like even Windler, it's like his option's going to be so cheap. It's just like they might just pick it up.
Why not? Yeah,
you know what I mean. It's like
fair.
It's like $2 million. It's like I mean that's like a lot of money compared to like what like most anyone makes. But like that's like we lit that on fire money for an NBA
if you're not a Locked On Cavs host, of course. But
all right, let's take a break, Evan.
We've been the winds of winter and change are blowing us towards an ads break again.
Look, got to tell everyone about our friends at DirecTV. Does this sound familiar? You've got one device that lets you catch the game live, another that lets you stream your favorite shows. You're watching sport highlights on your phone, and you've got your neighbor's best friends log in for the good stuff. Well, I got to tell you about a simple way to get all the entertainment you love without the hassle, and it's a great way to finally get your TV together. It's called DirecTV Stream, and it brings your live TV and on-demand favorites together like never before, so you can watch your favorite sports, movies, and shows all in one place. That means no more juggling remotes and no need to buy another device ever again. And the best part, there's no annual contract. So get rid of the clutter and the confusion and get your TV together with DirecTV Stream. You can learn more at directtv.com. That's directtv.com. Compatible device required, and your content varies by package. Also got to tell you about our friends at Shopify. I'm sure everyone probably has an idea, has heard of Shopify, but look, it's the sound of another great sale on Shopify. When you go on, you hear that cha-ching sound, and it's all one commerce platform. Start, run, and grow your business. They give entrepreneurs the resources once reserved for big business. So upstarts, startups, and established businesses alike can sell everywhere, synchronize online, in-person and in-person sales, and effortlessly stay informed. Scaling your business is a journey of endless possibility. I mean, we've obviously done that. We started selling like random ads in the first year of this podcast, and today we're selling, Built Bars and Rock Auto and all these
buying Cybertrucks.
Buying Cybertrucks, and we're not stopping there because success is a million milestones on a forever evolving path. Go to Shopify.com/LockedOnNBA, all lowercase, for a free 14-day trial and get full access to Shopify's entire suite of features. Grow your business with Shopify today. Go to Shopify.com/LockedOnNBA right now. Shopify.com/LockedOnNBA. You can reach all by customers across all stores numbers with Shopify. Okay, Evan. So,
whoa. Shouts to Cavs legend Andre Drummond: 19 points, 14 boards, 3 assists, 4 blocks, 1 foul, 5 turnovers. He is filling out that stat sheet. Maybe just it's another effect of a Cavs player leaving Cleveland looking better. I'm saying this in jest.
Yeah. All right, so let's I'm gonna pick a violent question here. You pick the last one. Discord doesn't like the word accountability. Is that crazy? Yeah, that's absolutely bonkers and dumb.
I think that's in reference to our Discord server.
Yeah, I assume so. But like accountability matters.
It does. I think it really does matter. I think it's encouraging to hear that these younger players are saying we need to hold each other accountable. I think it's showing them growing up in real time as well, especially like Colin Sexton he's a competitive freak, but he's also a soft spoken player. Doesn't really seem like he speaks out of line to his teammates and doesn't say anything bad to them. But like last year, we saw a little bit of it where like Jared Allen would pull Sexton inside and say, "Listen, you blew your defensive assignment," and that's why like I had to move over, like shift over and defend the paint, and then it resulted in an easier look for them. Like Jared Allen kind of sparked this, and I think that's encouraging. I think Darius Garland has been a big advocate of this as well and becoming more vocal and finding his voice. And I think the next hurdle for these guys is Evan Mobley finding his voice, because apparently Darius has been really vocal during training camp, like getting in Mobley's face and telling him, like, listen, you are the backline of our defense. You're going to be one of our defensive leaders and one of our leaders going forward. Like, you need to talk when you're on the floor. I don't think accountability is a bad thing, especially if this is a team who's legitimately serious about their playoff aspirations and hopes. Like, you've got to hold each other accountable to actually get there instead of just being okay with losing. And I think it's refreshing because a lot of these kids are fed up and sick of losing.
Look, I understand that like some of this is sort of like you come together and like maybe some of this like we're a collective unit team stuff like does get overblown and swing. I'm not disputing that can happen. But like I do think accountability and structure and like organizational competence like really do matter. Like all of these things do contribute to a team success. And I think accountability, like JB Bickerstaff has to be able to call guys on the carpet. Let's just go back to 2016 for a second, okay? This is actually the best way to explain this. If Tyronn Lue is not the head coach, and if Tyronn Lue is not able to be in the hotel in New York that I'm not naming because F that, and he isn't able to pull Kevin Love out on the carpet, call out LeBron, call out Kyrie, if he's not able to set accountability for guys filling their roles and doing their jobs and doing what the team needs to do to win, you're not winning a title. You're not coming back from 3-1. Like, I understand.
I was going to say, it's not. I thought you were going to talk about how he got LeBron's face during Game 7 and said, "You need to be better." And then LeBron said, "Fuck example. This guy."
Well, but like the accountability of all of this does matter. Like, you need structure. Like, I understand that some of this is like there's a mercenary aspect to this because guys are getting paid lots of money. Some of them are not going to be here in a year or whatever. Like, the loyalty often comes from money, but like relationships and accountability in these organizations do matter. That extends to your coaching staff, that extends to your front office. It often doesn't, but in my mind, it should also extend to ownership. Like, ownership also needs its own check on it in terms of what it's doing. And we're not going to get into that here, but like that hasn't. I think that hasn't always happened with the Cavs.
Well, don't worry, the league is checking in on Cavs ownership every day with a 23-year-old running the show. Anyways, moving along. I feel the email coming in hot to my inbox right now. My phone is just scorching.
Accountability matters, and I think like if you're saying if we're talking about on the floor as well with Darius Garland, if he's going to be the guy that they're kind of pushing him to be, he needs to be the guy that is like able to put guys in the right spot and hold them accountable for their roles. I think it matters.
Yep. Let's move on to this next question from Daniel Norup. He's been pretty active in the chat, so I appreciate this question. And him just hanging out with us this evening. Are the Cavs trying to figure out if Sexland works still, or are they committed to the two small guards? I think that's a good question, honestly, because I have not looked ahead much to the 2022 class. I got familiar with this draft class just because the 2020 draft was dragged out for such a long time that I was sick of looking at players in 2020, and I'm like, I'm going to get familiar with the next class. But let's say there's like a bigger two guard available, and maybe the Cavs say, okay, if they happen to be like the first or second pick, they take this set two guard and put him next to Garland and Okoro and Mobley and Allen. Yeah, then you break it up. But I think, if you look at their team building ethos, they're building around these two smaller guards and putting bigger bodied defensive minded players alongside them to kind of cover up some of those weaknesses and deficiencies, a la Utah, maybe to Portland as an extent as well. I think they're committing to it, and doubly so if they financially commit money to Collins soon, because I think hopefully they get an extension done before the season starts so it isn't hanging over their head, and then Darius is extension eligible next offseason. If they financially commit to these two, it's pretty safe to say Sexland is the future, but it could always blow up in their face too, and the calculus and the formula can change considerably at that point.
Yeah, I mean, I think if a Colin Sexton extension comes through before the start of the season, you are going to be in a position where like you are still kind of deciding on it to someone, but you're paying for it at that point, and like that
Yep.
is an indication that you believe in it. And it's like I think they would like to like do business with Darius Garland. Like I don't I think if where we're at right now, I think they would like to continue to be in the Darius Garland business. I think that the tricky thing is like we need to see some more development. I think we need to see just kind of more of a coming together. There's just some trickiness there. Evan, let's continue this after the break. Actually, let's take one more break, and we'll kind of let's put a pin in that for a second. I think you got a little ad read to do for us here.
I do. We're back and better than ever. All eyes are on the grid as teams are back on for another football season. Unfortunately, Chargers Raiders is delayed because of weather, but alas, an indoor stadium nonetheless. As always, BetOnline is your number one spot for all the pro and college football action this season. With a new updated site and interface, even more odds, props, and contests, BetOnline continues to be the number one source for everything football. Head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today to receive a 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Do not forget to use our promo code Locked On to receive your bonus. From football, basketball, boxing, right to your favorite Vegas casino games and whether or not the Jacksonville Jaguars will lose, do not wait to take advantage of all these amazing offers available for the 2021 season. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports. BetOnline, where the game starts.
Okay, so
and the new tagline threw me off there. BetOnline, what the heck?
I know, throwing some wrinkles in here, but and I think like if they pay, let's just say like Sexton comes through, let's just randomly throw out a number. Let's say 4 years, 88 million with the potential to get higher with incentives. Just throw that number out there.
Gee whiz, it's a little on the nose, but Chad, are you pondering what we're pondering? Gee, Chris, what are we going to do tonight? The same thing we do every night, Evan. We're going to talk shit about Colin Sexton.
No, we're not. Someone's going to cut that, unfortunately, and like text it to people. And Hiram's going to like, it's the only thing Hiram will consume in this whole episode.
Chris has his prosthetic hands on. He's got to cut those off in a ceremonial video just to prove a point.
It's true. I think like even if you pay Sexton, you are still, I think, ultimately figuring stuff out.
Well, nothing's for certain on this roster.
Yeah, I tend to think that you're still like deciding on like what works and what doesn't and how that all works. Like I think like this is still such a beginning. Like you're not at the very beginning anymore, but you're still like in the first phase of whatever this is, I think. Like they haven't like outproven they've elevated to that next to that whatever the next step is. Like they haven't gotten to like the second act of the story, so to speak.
Yeah, but obviously they haven't. They haven't made the playoffs or had any winning basketball in the last
that's
3
what I mean.
years. Yeah. I mean, the Cavs could dramatically overreact and fire Bickerstaff, fire Altman, clean house in terms of just the entire like overarching staff of this organization, and then start like having a fire sale or make win now moves, and we could be having a dramatically different conversation at the end of the season this year, or we could talk about this Cavs team as a play-in team or a sneaky dark horse playoff team once we get kind of a better idea closer to the All-Star break of what kind of team they are, like fully after based on, or even the trade deadline based on trades and everything else too.
What a weird roster for someone like I'm not advocating for that. I'm never gonna be like this person should get fired job unless they do something that is like absolutely like abhorrent outside of basketball.
This is an untenable situation for JB and his staff.
Well,
it's a tough, like we talked about earlier, this is a tightrope walk. Like they have to focus on winning and player development at the same time. You have to really bank on a bunch of early 20-year-olds really driving you home there. Like this is a tough task.
Yeah, but I also just mean like imagine like if you're like when like let's just say like the search committee goes to interview like I wonder what the pitches from coaches and from potential like GMs would be on the roster. Like what they would like, hey, like here's my plan to like make this.
I know you've been coaching Michigan State for most of your professional career.
Look,
but
Denzel,
six
Denzel.
times the charm. We got Denzel. Promise you, it's different. It's different. And then you just hear a click. Um,
John Calipari comes through.
if the Cavs became more like literally take a page out of the Browns book, just let the intelligent people in the room.
This has been my take for like a year. This has been like my thing for like a year.
Let the smart basketball people make the basketball decisions. You have an assembly of talent. You can build a culture really quickly if you put the right people in charge. And winning fixes a lot of these issues, especially if you're the Cavs. Like the Cavs become a winning team because their young talent just finally clicks and they figure it out. Like the 49ers are a good example of this, but like the way it crashed and burned with Harbaugh is spectacular. But Harbaugh really was a quarterback whisperer and put this all together for them. Taking a page out of the Browns book, and if Dan and some of the other folks at the top just kind of take a step back and let Kobe Altman or whoever succeeds Kobe Altman make these key decisions and make the basketball moves, and you surround them with a smart, intelligent nucleus, like, just. Yeah, I mean, it's weird. It's weird to say, or the Indians too. The Indians are soon to be Guardians are a good example as well. Like,
you
realize and you know what you are, and you just stay consistent at that.
Yeah. The other thing I'll just say is like you can talk yourself into some like optimistic stuff. Like I'm looking at like the Cleveland Glass like lineup data for Sexton lineups last year. So here's the ones in the most used ones because like some of them have like a silly few number of possessions, but like so let's say Garland, Sexton, Okoro, Wade, and Allen. That like lineup 227 possessions, the second most common lineup with those two last year. That was +3 per 100 possessions, little under league average. Yeah, +3. So there's a point I'm making here. At 173 possessions, just sub out Wade for Love. So Garland, Sexton, Okoro, Love, Allen, +4 per 100 possessions, 50th percentile among that. And then you had Garland, Sexton, Okoro, Wade, Love in 131 possessions. That was +5.9 per 100 possessions. Like that was 100 excuse me if I didn't say it, that was in 131 possessions. Like there are some other like those lineups aren't like necessarily good. Like some of the defensive numbers on those lineups are like a little like I don't know if like so like for example like the Allen Wade one up at the top had a defensive rating of 101.8. That is like absolutely never going to be like a real thing if you played that like over the course of the whole season. That's like an absurd defensive rating. But like there's just something of like maybe like honestly like you can look at the market and think, and if you're them, you can say, hey, like we got a guy who can shoot at the 4 now. We have Jarrett. Like we can make some of this work. I don't know why my camera just went out, but I will figure that out in a moment.
Folks, I think we lost Chris Manning.
I need you to vamp.
You good? We need you.
Yeah, just vamp for me.
Vamp. I'll just vamp for you, dog.
I need you to vamp. Yeah, thank you.
Oh God, full screen Evan. Full screen Evan here. Yeah, it's just interesting to think about. I think the finances are really where you have to break this down on whether or not the Cavs are fully committed to this. And yes, Chris is right. Like, God, this is what I look like. Nothing is really certain with this team, but I think the Cavs still need to remain patient because it is an untenable situation because there is the ongoing pressure for this team to become a winning organization quickly. But the problem is the rest of the Eastern Conference got better. Like, let's break it down as the reality situation. Brooklyn and Milwaukee, the top two teams in the East, and then you have teams like Chicago, Indiana, Miami, Atlanta. I mean, Washington could be decent. The Knicks are a good squad. The Celtics are going to be good. I'm not the great, but I think Chris Manning is back, and thank God. But it's just
don't know what happened there, but that was weird.
It was super weird, man. It's just like the time I had to recap Cavs Heat in my car in freezing downtown Cleveland, and I literally said, I don't know how Chris Manning does this.
When was that?
Way back when I covered, you weren't there, but I covered Cavs Heat, and I recorded a solo recap for like 10 minutes in my car and sent you the audio. And at one point I said, I don't know how Chris did this by himself for a year or two.
The secret was I didn't totally do it all. I didn't always do as much as I should have.
Yeah. And then along came Evan. I'm like Zeus, and you're my Hercules.
Yeah. That was uncomfortable.
I'm still mad they're doing a live action remake of Hercules. Unnecessary. tune in next time I have to go solo, and I'll rant about how much I hate these Disney remakes. Like, hate.
All right. Yeah. I want to end on this point because I think it is. Hold on. This is from John Arthur in the chat. I think Okoro will improve a lot. Think about what he dealt with as a rookie. COVID-19 protocols, guarding other teams as a player, and not a lot of easy buckets for him on a team that struggled to score. I think that's just that's another reason you want to be excited. It's just like Isaac Okoro, who by all accounts like improves every single year he's ever been alive. When you talk to people about him, if he has a more normal year in this, like even like the COVID stuff is like in its own separate category to me because like that there's a global pandemic. You kind of got to just like buckle down if you want to have this season, and like the vaccine wasn't available at the start of the year. That's just the reality of it. But like the condensed schedule is bonkers.
Oh, it was like Isaac Okoro
70. Oh my god! Like I can't even honestly like I don't feel like we've even like fully understood how like insane that was in a lot of ways.
And it speaks volumes about how Isaac was in like such a weird situation. When somebody asked JB, what do you expect for him this season? He's like, I expect him to have a normal NBA season. He didn't have that last year. And I'm like, yeah, I guess that's when you put it that way, that's 100% true.
Yeah. So going on Twitter real quick, see if there's anything we're missing. In the NBA world, Trae Young had to go to the locker room according to the bread rolling, which is not good.
Not good at all.
Someone just did a KD dance on Monday Night Football. But Evan, do you want anything else you want to do before we get out of here?
No, not really, man. Thank you for everyone for having us be your hashtag first listen, or if you're watching, your hashtag first view of the day. We really appreciate it. The Chase Down podcast tried to silence me, but Facebook will never go away, and I'll never go away. I'm like an amoeba. I'll just constantly be growing. I have a piece coming out Tuesday morning I'm pretty excited about. I got to talk to a certain coach that is affiliated with the Cavs organization, and it should be pretty fun there. But Chris, is there anything you want to say before we head out?
Just please subscribe to us on YouTube.
Yeah. If
there's something I have going on that I'm more focused on anything else that I can't talk about.
I think I know what
you do know what it is.
Yeah, I'm being paid to look it over it, but you don't have to pay me. Am I thinking of the right thing, or is it something else?
No, there's
Chris
something else.
Oh. Fingers
think
crossed.
Just think about it for a second. You'll probably click in your brain. Oh, that other thing I'm like very behind on, but I got some work.
Yeah, I was thinking about the other thing. I don't know what this first thing is. My brain's a little cooked. It's been a day. Boy, Evan. My heart's already broken because I have to wear Bobcat puke green, and just everyone's gonna get my live reaction. Oh yeah, fingers crossed. Actually, yes, big fingers crossed on that one.
Big fingers crossed. Yes,
big fingers crossed.
So good energy out in the world.
I'm a bad friend, folks. Let's just put it that way.
There's a lot going. There's a lot going on.
We're still in the middle of a global panic at the disco.
I'm honestly like, it doesn't totally feel real to me that the Cavs are playing basketball tomorrow at all. Like, it doesn't quite feel real to me that like we have a game.
Let's just put it this way: tomorrow. We're back at 5 days a week. And that doesn't feel real to me either.
The check's gonna be good though.
Third side of
All right, everyone, we'll be back. Please hit subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks for tuning in. We'll do more of these. We'll have a live. Well, I don't know if we're going live tomorrow, but like at some point we may do some live post game stuff. But again, hit subscribe, hit the notification bell.
I'll just go live by myself and rant about the Disney remakes for 45 minutes and just scream and slam my fist and get a warning from my leasing office about a noise violation.
That'd be ironic, honestly, considering everything. But if you haven't, and you're listening on audio, hit subscribe on YouTube. It is the best way to support the show right now. Juice those numbers for us. We want to boost them and try to get as close to 1,000 as possible before the start of the year. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Be well.
Cook those books, as a Canadian terrorist would say. Be well.